Welcome back. So hopefully you've had a chance to recuperate and you're ready to listen to our next talk. We know that over the past sort of 12, 15 months that Rishi Sunak has provided lots of opportunities for and support for businesses. And throughout that time, there's been some really good schemes to help retain staff, but there's also been a lot of schemes to help take on new staff. Some of those, I've listed these out for myself just to remind myself. There's undergraduate schemes to help employ graduates. There are traineeships, which look into T-levels and helping college students to come in and have some work experience. And the old Erasmus scheme, which was to employ individuals from overseas, has now been changed to the Turing scheme because of Brexit, and that's available now for people. So they're really good schemes, but probably the most advantageous of all of these schemes has been the KickStart scheme. So I asked Mark to come and talk to us today around this. Mark is probably as well known for his philanthropy as he is for his business success. He works on the board of the Children's Activities Association and with the Brownlee Trust, Brownlee Foundation even. And fortunately, we've got him today to talk about the KickStart scheme. So I'd like to hand over to Mark. He's going to take us through that. If you've got any questions, Mark's asked for us just to ask them throughout the process. So I will monitor the chat for those. And over to you, Mark.
Thanks. Nice to meet everyone. I can't tell if there's anyone listening or not, so hopefully there is some people at least. So if you've got any questions, yeah, just send them through to Kieran. I'll share my screen now so that you can see the PowerPoint. So hopefully everyone can see that now. So yeah, the KickStart scheme, as Kieran said, is a fantastic scheme that Rishi Sunak's launched. Background. I helped build up a business with a business partner that we franchised across the UK and had a number of franchises in other countries. Then the last 11 years, I've been a mentor, coach, consultant, investing in businesses, and as Kieran says, I help a few organisations as a voluntary trustee, like the Children's Activities Association, Brownlee Foundation, and a couple of other not-for-profits and charities. So I'll talk about the KickStart scheme and why I'm a gateway now and how it can help you as a business, because I'm presuming most of you are business owners. So to get back to what the KickStart scheme is, as Kieran said, Rishi Sunak is the nice guy at the moment because he's the one giving out all the money. In a couple of years' time, we'll be the one that's taxing you all a bit more, so you might not like him as much then. But one of the best schemes around is the KickStart scheme, which is available until December this year. They don't know if it's going to be extended. It may well be, but currently our information that it's up till December this year. So the reason the scheme is about, and schemes like this appear every 10 to 15 years, is that young people are typically the worst affected by recessions, and the pandemic has kind of created a false and very deep recession, which means that there's at least triple the rate of unemployment amongst young people. They represent 30-40% of redundancies that are being made. They're the biggest section of people that are currently furloughed. There's 1.6 million young people currently furloughed. There's about 500,000 people currently eligible for this scheme between the ages of 18 to 24, and they range hugely from people who are just straight out of school to people with 2, 3, 4 years experience out of university. So what the government will do is they will fund them to come and work in your business. If you think about it in one way, it's almost like a paid internship. They'll fund them to work for 25 hours a week at national minimum wage. You can employ them for more than the 25 hours. You can pay them more than the national minimum wage, but that's what they'll be subsidised up to. They'll subsidise the cost of any national insurance and any automatic enrolment up to that level. Again, if you pay them more, or give them more hours, then obviously it won't subsidise that. So it's a fantastic scheme where you can get some great young. It's hugely beneficial to businesses because most businesses that I speak to, and having run my own businesses and known lots of other business owners, we're all busy. We've all got stuff that we should be delegating. We would all like some more people. It would be extremely beneficial to take more people on, but with the year that a lot of businesses have had, and with the uncertainty in the economy and Brexit and the pandemic, people are thinking, is recruitment the first thing they want to do? So what this does is it takes the risk out of it, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's classified as up to 5,500 nearly in government funded support per employee. So as I've said, we've all had challenging years, or most of us have. We're going to have more taxes going forward, so you may as well use this scheme while it's around, because as I said, it's very, very limited. So it can be used to help you drive the business forward by delegating tasks to people that can take admin, marketing, social media, sales, customer service off you, or there can be completely new roles that are created to do stuff that you might not have done previously. So the way to think about this as well is almost like a pre-apprenticeship scheme, because Kieran mentioned things like traineeships and apprenticeships and all those sorts of things. You can double dip with a scheme like this. What you can do is you can try before you buy with this person for 6 months, for 25 hours a week, and by the end of that 6 months, you'll definitely know if they're the right person to employ. If they are the right person to employ, then you can take them on an apprenticeship scheme as well. And for those who don't know about apprenticeship schemes, there's a pretty significant grant for taking people on apprenticeships, and currently that's up to £1,000 at the moment, but it changes all the time. There's apprenticeships in most things, whether that's specifically the sector you're in or whether it's the job role they'll be doing. There's innovative and funky apprenticeships like digital marketing and social media and stuff now, or there's more traditional ones like business administration and service and so on and so forth. So an apprenticeship is a great graduation pathway to move these people into, if you decide to from that person. In a lot of cases, it helps with the people power to do things. As Kieran knows, I work with a lot of sport, health, fitness, kids activities businesses. They need people at the base on the shop floor to do stuff. So it gives them those people that they can train up, spend time developing them, growing them, so at the end of the 6 months they can prove whether they're worthwhile taking on.
Hi, Mark. We've got a question just come through from Avril here, which is this scheme available in Northern Ireland?
In the moment, so it's available all over the UK apart from Northern Ireland, which I presume they've been given the same funding but have chosen to do something different with it. So they'd need to go and speak to their local kind of growth hubs or LEPs or something to see what is available over there.
Yeah, my understanding is that Ireland they definitely have been allocated the funding pot for it. I'd have to say it's about just who's responsible for delivering that funding pot, basically, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I'll have a look around while you're talking and see if I can get the answers to that, Avril, for you in terms of who it would be in Ireland. So
it evolves, so they've chosen to do something different with it, obviously, or run it themselves, or because we can't help businesses in Northern Ireland currently, unfortunately.
No worries. All right, thanks, Mark.
So these young people said that's a hugely diverse talent pool, from 18 to 24, from people with master's degrees to people straight out of university, people with lots of experience, people with no experience. So it's up to you to decide what level of person you want, as long as it's applicable for someone of that age. If you're looking for 15 years experience, you won't find it in this group, because they're simply not there and they simply won't be funded. With some of these roles, or with these young, sometimes they bring skills that an older person in business like me doesn't have. Things like social media, video production. We've got quite a few clients who are using young people to do that stuff because it's almost second nature to them. They in a lot of cases, they don't have a specific qualification. They've had a phone since they were 12, 10 years ago, and they know how to do this stuff in in seconds, rather than people like me who take 4 days to come up with a meme, and are challenged in those sorts of areas. So these young people, they bring enthusiasm, skills, talent. A lot of them have been extremely affected by the pandemic. They've been applying for jobs for 3 months or more, which can be quite soul destroying. So it's great for them to get back into work, rebuild their confidence. And the government's baseline isn't that you have to employ them afterwards. The government's baseline is that they will there for that 6 months. They will get improved skills, confidence, experience, enhance their CV, and then if they prove themselves invaluable to that business might look to take them on afterwards. If they haven't, or there isn't the funding, or the person doesn't want to carry on, they go back into the jobs market in a lot better position. But in essence, this business just provides the people power to help a business bounce back if they need to bounce back or grow quicker next year, because they can take people on to give them the capacity to grow. Because in general, most businesses need people to do stuff in order to help them grow, and this is what it helps them with. So I'm what's classed as a gateway, or my business is what's classed as a gateway. And part of the reason we're a gateway is because there was a previous guise to this scheme called Fund, which was around in 2008, and with the business I ran then, we took on about 400 young people as part of the foundation we ran through that. Of those 400, about 200 were taken on permanently full-time afterwards. So we were used as a bit of a case study by the Department of Work and Pensions due to the success of the program within our network. And then this time around, we were asked to be a gateway for businesses. And the role of a gateway is kind of twofold. The role that a gateway does is understand the needs and liaise with the employer to explain what the scheme does, how it can be beneficial to them, what they can do with it, what they can't do with it, because some people come to us and try and abuse the scheme or don't fully understand what it's available for, and we explain that and try and get people to use it ethically and morally, so that they're using government funding properly, but also so that they're protecting these young people as well. So that's what we do, is we give loads of guidance for the employers on how to use the scheme properly, how to make it successful from their perspective. And a lot of that is based on my own experience of that Future Jobs Fund and what we got right and what we got wrong. And one of the main things that we learned from that was it's about recruiting the right person. So we spend a lot of time and effort guiding people on recruitment, training, developing, mentoring, coaching, managing, inducting, all those sorts of things that mean you get the right person, and then you spend lots of time making them into what you want them to be, so that they stand a good chance converting that into a permanent role. What we do as a full service gateway is we do all the training that the Department of Work and Pensions wants them to do. So because it's DWP funded, they've set out a list of criteria of the want them to do, which splits out into kind of two areas, which is half on kind of employability stuff, so meaning they're more likely to get a permanent position with an employer at the end of the 6 months, or if they don't, going back into the jobs market, being in a much better position to get a full-time job, go back into that jobs market. The other half is then what they describe as kind of generic work skills, so things like time management, goal setting, working as a team, remote working, all those sorts of things. We do lots of support on that. So that's the mandatory training. Then there's a second layer of stuff that we do, which is kind of over and above most of the gateways, where we do a layer of voluntary training, which is kind of job role specific. So if they're doing sales, marketing, admin, customer service, finance, HR, loads of other different roles, marketing, social media, all those sorts of things, we give them additional courses that they can do to enhance their CV if they want to do that stuff. They're not forced to do that stuff, and the employer isn't expected to give them time if they want to do it. It's really beneficial. Then a third layer of training, which think we're the gateway that does this, which is called Enrichment Activities, is where we brought the psychology, coaching, mentoring, speakers, authors to kind of, work with these young people to give them the skills they need in the 6-month period, but also to give them the skills that then enable them to, be successful in their career.
I think one of the things, Mark, that I really like about what you do is the fact that it's more about, this holistic approach of, this employee, hopefully they'll be the right person, but if they're not, let's get them ready for the next potential. There's a giving back as part of that process. I've got another question there actually that's come around this, which is, are there any restrictions to the type of organisations that can get this, etc.? So, for example, are charities okay?
So charities are okay, LLPs are okay, limited companies. Challenges with partnership traders.
Okay.
All traders aren't eligible at the moment. It's something to do with appearing on Companies House or being on the Charities Commission. So they have a software system they run the businesses through called Spotlight, and it cross-references against Companies House or the Charities Commission. So if you're not one of those company structures, then it's extremely challenging to get through.
So it's all right for CICs, charities, limited companies, limited liability partnerships, those sorts of businesses. Then they're on there. And I've got an answer for Apple's question. From what I can tell, it doesn't currently appear to be anything that is directly related to the KickStart scheme in Northern Ireland. However, I've got 3 links that I'll send across to you for some new apprenticeship schemes, which they seem to have put the funding into, and just a general link to the business report in Northern Ireland, which you may have, but it might help. Hope that's useful. Cheers, Mark.
No problem. Yeah, so with those 3 layers of training, like I said, we probably go over and above what's the minimum level of requirements for the Department of Work and Pensions, but worked in education and training for a long period of time and worked with lots of businesses in that sector. I think it's really important that the young people are given the requisite level of training. And this is the reason why most businesses have to go through a gateway, so that this training is done. This is a requirement for the DWP. The other thing a gateway does is, as you can imagine with government funding, there's lots of paperwork, there's lots of hassles, lots of questions, lots of stuff that's confusing. So we, minimize all that stuff, make sure that you're much more likely to be accepted, because a lot of the acceptance criteria is based on the wraparound support that we do. Because we're, I guess, what you class as a full service gateway. There's lots of gateways out there, and at the other end of the spectrum, there's lots of ones that are just kind of sausage factories, just processing thousands of rolls, but just using kind of very low level, unskilled staff to just process this stuff, and they can't really help the employers. They're not really doing good for the employees. So we try and go to the other end of the spectrum and make sure we help the employers as much as possible to make a success for them and the employees, that they stand a really good chance of converting into full-time work. So that's the scheme, really. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those, or if people want to get in touch on a one-to-one basis, then LinkedIn or whatever is a really good way to contact me to start with.
Hi, Mark. I suppose there's a couple of things I think that I took from that. So the first is, it's not necessarily about going. Actually, no, so the first thing is, in terms of caliber of candidate, although this kind of thing has been tried in the past and hasn't necessarily worked, right now with a market that is full of there's lots of candidates in the marketplace, less people employing, it's likely that you're going to get a higher caliber of candidate. And the longer you leave it this year, probably the more opportunities there'll be for candidates, because more businesses will be opening and looking to recruit. So this is a good opportunity to get almost like a no risk other than your time investment into the staff member opportunity to bring something on board. And I liked what you said about that kind of process. So you go, first you could do the KickStart scheme. That could lead into some sort of apprenticeship, which could then lead into a paid piece of work, your sort of ongoing contractual work.